Hey guys, the X-Wing pilot here, and I've been asked a lot what I think the ranking of the Star Wars films are. And so, as of now, I put together a ranking of all the Star Wars movies, from worst to best. Keep in mind here that I like all these films and love most of them, even the prequels. But there are some that are good, some that are not as good, but still worth mentioning. That being said, I'm only ranking the canon theatrically released movies, so no Ewok movies, no holiday specials, and I'm excluding the Clone Wars movie because it sucked. I don't want to. I don't know. So, my ranking is only 9 films. The what? It should be more than that. No, it's not. We're good. We're right. We're right. We have the prequels, the originals, the 2 of the sequels we've had so far, and one of the spin-offs, because Solo isn't out yet, obviously. So, number 9 is Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. And I know, a lot of people don't think that's the worst. There's some redeeming factors. Listen, this movie is not a bad movie. I don't hate this movie. As a kid, I loved it, but watching it now, it's kind of boring. Outside the pod race and the climax, there's not a lot that happens in this movie. It's a lot of nothing. But you get some scenes with Yoda, and Qui-Gon's a great character. This one is very weighed down by the whole Trade Federation plotline. It's like, we want to do this, and we're gonna put a blockade, and it's really like, Star Wars is for kids, and I don't think any kid understood that. I sure as hell didn't when I was a kid. I get it now that I'm an adult and I've seen it like 5,000 times. But as a kid, it was just like, I just want to see people fight with lightsabers. Can we get going here? So, and Star Wars, it's not. I wouldn't say it's aimed primarily at kids, but it's always been marketed towards kids. Kids are a big part of the Star Wars audience. You got to make it simple enough for them to understand, while also making it grown up enough for adults. This movie is too grown up, I think, for kids to really understand. Not that it's gory or violent, or there's language. It's just, the idea is, it's like stuff that kids don't care about. They don't care, you know. So episode 9, number 9 is episode 1, Phantom Menace. Number 8 is Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, which a lot of people think is the worst. I have to admit, I do have a soft spot in my heart for this one because it's the first one I ever saw. Yes, you heard that right. Episode 2 is the first Star Wars movie I ever saw. I remember the first time I saw it, my dad was sitting on the couch watching it. I walked in. There was a guy in a jetpack. He was shooting at a guy with a laser sword in the rain. And my dad rewound the movie, and I watched it, and that's how my Star Wars addiction began. But because of that, I've always had a soft spot in my heart. Obviously, the scene that I first saw was the Jango Fett Obi-Wan fight, and it just stuck in my head. And there's very much some enjoyable stuff. The Sifo Dyas stuff, once again, kind of a convoluted plot line, but much easier for kids to understand and for everyone to understand than the Trade Federation stuff in the first prequel movie. You get some more action in this one. You got the Jango Fett Obi-Wan fight. You have a couple of things in the beginning. The chase scene on Coruscant. You have the climax on Geonosis with that giant Jedi battle, which is awesome to see, and the clones. You get a little brief battle between Dooku, Obi-Wan, and Anakin, and you get to see Yoda fucking kicking ass. So it's kind of cool. There's a lot more action, but once again, kind of the Sifo Dyas thing is, they try to make a mystery out of it, and I understand what they were going for, but it didn't quite work out the way they anticipated, I guess. But nonetheless, number 8 is Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Number 7, and a lot of people are gonna give me shit here. I will say I like my number 9 and number 8 selections. I love everything from 7 up. So I love this next film. This is not quite as good as the other 6. But number 7 is Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. I absolutely adored this movie. This movie was great. Introduced us to new characters in the Star Wars galaxy. It gave us new environments, new locations, brought back some familiar faces, and it was very action-packed. One of the best climaxes, one of the best third acts in any Star Wars movie. So much action going on, huge battle. Felt like war, and that was amazing. It was awesome. Some of my standout characters here were Cassian Andor. I know a lot of people don't really like Cassian Andor. I loved Cassian Andor. I thought he was a good leader, very conflicted leader, but a good leader nonetheless. K2SO is obviously a standout, one of the best droids in the Star Wars galaxy, and the Guardians of the Whills. That would be Baze Malbus and Chirrut Îmwe. They were fantastic as well. Not that there was any, unfantastic characters, just some not as expansive. Bodhi he's a cool character, but he's not as expansive as the others, I feel. The same can go for Jyn, even though she is the main character. I liked seeing Mads Mikkelsen on Star Wars because Mads Mikkelsen is an awesome actor. I'm glad he got the opportunity to be in a Star Wars film. Gareth Edwards does a really good job of directing this movie as well, and you can tell he has a love for it. That being said, there are some wink, wink, nudge, nudge moments, but some are good, some are like, I don't think you really needed that. I mean, realistically, you didn't need any of them. We didn't need to see Dr. Cornelius and Ponda Baba on Jedha, but we did, and it makes us think, were they like on their way off the planet when they bumped into him? Because literally minutes later, Jedha is like nothingness. Also, C-3PO and R2 didn't need to be in there, but you know what? They've been in every Star Wars movie. Just let them have it. So, once again, just the third act was amazing. So much intensity. Another thing, though, that kind of keeps this movie lower is it was very predictable. We all knew that the Rogue One team was going to end up being the Suicide Squad, and that's exactly what it turned into. They do not make it out of this film. And one of the saving graces of this film, one of the reasons it's so high, is that Vader scene. Holy shit, that was awesome. I have never been in a theater and been so excited and like emotional at the same time, because we've never seen Vader do stuff like that on the big screen, and it was just so awesome to see Vader just kicking ass, and it was great. So my number 7 is, like I said, Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. And now my number 6 on here is Star Wars The Force Awakens. Now this movie was great, and after a giant 10-year break, it was definitely a movie we needed. It definitely helped a lot of people who, had a bad taste in their mouths about the prequels. I didn't have that because I like the prequels personally. But it's a good film. It's a little slower than like, I wouldn't say slower because I guess none of them start really action packed, but there's stuff going on. There's big gaps where there's a lot of stuff happening. But this movie's great. It introduces us to a bunch of new characters, even more than Rogue One, I would say, and they're fantastic. Rey, Poe, Finn. At one point, Rey, Poe, and Finn were all my new favorite character. At first, when I first saw the movie, it was Finn. And then after seeing it 3 more times in theaters, it was Rey. Then after getting it on DVD and watching it, it's been Poe, and Poe's been my favorite since out of the new 3 characters, the new big 3. But then you also bring back the classics. You got Han and Leia in there, and and Kylo Ren. How can I forget Kylo Ren? One of the best new characters in this franchise. And the story, while it is just A New Hope, it is still very engaging, still very fun. Seeing Han Solo again, because Han Solo is, for the longest time, he was my idol. I love Han Solo. That's my favorite fictional character of all time, And so seeing Harrison Ford come back and seeing Harrison Ford, give it his all, and like, I wasn't seeing Harrison Ford just collecting a paycheck. I was seeing Han Solo on screen once again. It was great. It was great, and I loved it. Some of the downers, like I said, it's A New Hope again. So guess what? We got Starkiller Base. It's not the Death Star. This is Starkiller Base, but it's pretty much just a bigger Death Star, and so that's a downer. Like I said, the whole New Hope thing, it brings it down a little bit, but it was still a great movie, action-packed. You get to see all your favorites. You get to be introduced to these great new characters. They didn't build relationships and put in seeds. That it does stuff we've never seen in Star Wars before. We've never seen a dream flashback-y type sequence like we did in this one. So overall, I thought that Star Wars The Force Awakens was really fun. It was a great movie. I love this movie. I absolutely love it. and it is number 6 on this list. Now, number 5. This is where people are getting mad at me for putting this movie over The Force Awakens. Number 5, I have Star Wars Episode 3: Revenge of the Sith. Despite what you think about Hayden Christensen, despite what you think about the prequels, you cannot deny Revenge of the Sith is an awesome movie. I will fight for it. I will defend it. It is a great movie. I love Revenge of the Sith. It's by far the best of the prequels and one of the best in the entire saga. The story is unique. We get to see, I think we see more of Anakin and Obi-Wan's friendship. A lot of people don't, but I can see it. I can see it building. Ian McDiarmid kills it in this movie as Sheev Palpatine. He is warm at points and then bone-chillingly cold at other points. He's very kindly-hearted in some points and then maniacally evil at the flick of a switch. And it's great. It's great. And Ewan McGregor, quite possibly the best casting choice in the history of Star Wars. I mean, come on. He is perfect for Obi-Wan. He was born to play that role, and he excels as Obi-Wan, especially in this film. And we get to see how it happened. We get to see how this once great Jedi, Anakin Skywalker, fell to become the Dark Lord of the Sith, Darth Vader. And it did not disappoint. I always heard, because, I was probably like 7 or 8 when I saw Revenge of the Sith. I'd always heard, Darth Vader was created. Darth Vader, the reason he has the suit is because, he fought on a planet of lava. I just heard there was a big battle on this volcano. And we got to see that. We saw it on the screen, on the big screen. We saw Obi-Wan and Anakin fight it out on Mustafar in an epic lightsaber duel. Some people think it's over choreographed. I think it's cool. And ultimately, Obi-Wan, being the wiser of the two and the not giving into his emotions, is able to defeat Anakin, and he leaves him there. And he probably shouldn't have, but he did. And Vader is created. And the whole symmetry between Padme's death and Vader's birth is very great. Some of the flaws with this movie, though, however, is some of the... I'm not going to lie. Natalie Portman and Hayden Christensen don't have a lot of chemistry. They have their moments. There's a couple moments in here that's good. Like the reaction to her being pregnant, and then the scene where they're staring across from the temple and the home. Those are nice, but then there's scenes where, they're just talking. It's not good. They don't have chemistry. But there's that. Darth Vader screaming no is by far one of the worst moments of this movie. But overall, it's very enjoyable. It starts off very action heavy, ends very action heavy. You see Anakin's conflict throughout the entire movie. You know where it's going. You understand why he's doing these things, and putting yourself in that position, you can see yourself doing the same thing. So, ultimately, I like Star Wars Episode 3: Revenge of the Sith, and it's number 5 on the list. Now, number 4 on the list is Star Wars: The Last Jedi, the most recent in the Star Wars universe. This one, is very divisive. Very divisive. Some people love it, some people hate it. I personally love it. That being said, there are moments that I'm not too fond of. Quite notably, the Finn and Rose storyline. It's not good. It's not good. Don't get me wrong. I love Canto Bight as a planet, as a place. I think that's a very interesting setting, and I want to read the Canto Bight book to learn more about its inner workings. It was the storyline in Canto Bight that I didn't enjoy, and ultimately Finn and Rose's storyline was pointless because they didn't accomplish anything. They really didn't. But it was cool to see Finn again. Rose, I'm very indifferent about her. I don't hate her like a lot of people do, but I'm definitely not in love with her or anything. But it's fine. What's really about this movie is Luke. Luke's relationship with Rey and how it goes down. And I'm gonna say it right now. Kylo Ren, Adam Driver steals the show in this damn movie. He steals the show in this movie. But all the stuff, Luke trying to teach Rey and Rey's connection with the Force, Rey connecting with Kylo through the Force, the throne room scene with Snoke, a lot of epic stuff, and then the battle on Krayt is absolutely amazing, and Luke projecting himself over. Luke becoming one with the Force was a great moment. And I think Luke's arc was perfect. I thought it was beautiful. I shed a tear when Luke passed on into the Force. But it was very earned. It was very earned by Luke. Luke, it was very earned, and I think Rian Johnson did a great job. The biggest down I have is a lot of the comedy. Don't get me wrong, comedy definitely has its place in Star Wars. That being said, it was overdone. There were certain jokes that's just like, this shouldn't be in here. And I understand why he did it. There's a lot of really dark stuff in this movie. But, he wanted to add some levity to it, but it just didn't work. It did not work. It was too much comedy. But, overall, I still very much enjoyed the movie and thought it was pretty great. When it's good, it's great. When it's not, it's not. But I do love the movie, and that's why it's number 4. Number 3 on here, Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, the very first. And this movie is a straight up adventure movie right here. This movie is where it began. You get introduced to Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, Han Solo, the baddest motherfucker in the galaxy. Obi-Wan Kenobi. I mean, from start to finish, it has you hooked. It's compelling. It's interesting. And it uses tropes, but it changes tropes. The damsel in distress trope has been around since the beginning of cinema, even before then in novels. But Leia is not the typical damsel in distress. Leia is not a woman who needs to be rescued. Leia can handle herself, and Leia is a very, very strong female character. Who else when someone gets rescued in a movie, you don't see them going like, all right, I got it from here. There's very few. Leia, and that I really can't. I can't think of many else. Maybe Sarah Connor in Terminator 2, but you don't see damsels in distress get rescued and then going someone's got to get their asses out of here and start blowing shit up. Leia thinks on her feet. She pushes Han and Chewie around. She's very demanding, and she doesn't give a damn, and that's awesome to see from her character. Luke's very naive in this movie, and very similar to Anakin, but not as angry, I would say. You got the wise old teacher in Obi-Wan. The climax, the Death Star battle is classic. You gotta love it. It's just awesome. And overall, it's just fun. It's awesome, and it introduced us to a galaxy far, far away, and it's number 3. So you probably noticed it's come down to 2 movies. There's the one movie everyone usually places at the top. Then there's the other movie people usually put around the 3, 4, some even lower spot. So which one's my favorite? Well, number 2 is Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. I'm going to get a lot of hate for this list. I'm going to get a lot of hate for it. Empire, it's bigger, it's badder, it's better than than Episode 4. It's a lot darker. It doesn't use things. It doesn't copy Episode 4. It doesn't copy and paste. Introduces us to a couple more new characters. You get Boba Fett in there, who I guess was technically introduced in the holiday special, but shut up. And we get, of course, Lando Calrissian, who is, the smoothest dude in the galaxy, played by Billy D. Williams. And, the story, it takes 2 paths. The team splits. Luke's kind of doing his own thing. Han, Leia, and the rest of the gang are kind of doing their own thing. Cloud City's a very fun location. These are going to mostly be positives, by the way. There's not a lot of negatives about Empire Strikes Back. But, Cloud City's amazing. Seeing it around. A lot of the background characters, too. I mean, you got Lobot. You got the ice cream machine guy in Cloud City. You got so much stuff. And, the training on Dagobah is great. And the introduction to Yoda, how can I forget? Yoda's great in this movie, the whole trying to teach Luke patience, and then Luke just okay, can you just take me to Yoda? And he's like, hey, I'm Yoda, by the way, if you didn't know that. And from Luke leaving early, the climax, the battle, I am your father. I mean, there's so much. I don't think there's one negative about this movie, if I'm being quite honest. I think this is about as perfect as a movie can get. There's just one more I prefer over it, so let's go ahead and get to it. My number 1 Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. A lot of people don't like it as much, but you know what? I herald it as the best one. I see nothing wrong with the Ewoks. They're just hanging out on their planet. Or their moon. I'm sorry, Endor. It's the forest moon of Endor. They do not go to Endor in this movie. They go to the forest moon of Endor. But they're just hanging out on their moon, doing their own stuff. They're hunting, gathering. They've obviously lived here a long time, and they're a pretty smart species, and they know how to fight a bigger prey. And that's why they're able to defeat the Empire. So shut up about teddy bears. Not bad as Jar Jar. Shut up. Anyway. Seeing Luke... First of all, Jabba's Palace. One of the best openers ever. Great way to start off that movie. But seeing how Luke has changed since the end of Empire after that bombshell was dropped on him. Luke is now dressing in all black. He's very stoic and serious. And he's a badass in this movie, dude. He ain't taking people's shit in this movie. And he's kicking ass. Of course, we had to get confirmation that Vader's Luke's father because people thought it was a lie. Then you have a lot of stuff on Forest Moon of Endor. A lot of setup. Luke is obviously turns himself in. He goes up to the second Death Star. And that is a negative, I guess. The second Death Star, people complain. But you know what? You spend $1 billion on this project, probably. It's very personal to Palpatine. It's like, hey, you blew... It's like if someone breaks your big screen TV, It's like, hey, I like that, So screw you, I'm gonna get another one, and then I'm gonna beat you up. That's what Palpatine's doing basically with the second Death Star. But and that's another thing. Palpatine, he hadn't been in the previous two. Well, he was in Empire for a very brief time for just one scene, but he's in this movie, and I think that's the best moment in Star Wars, obviously, is the throne room, and the Emperor's throne room, Luke and Vader, and everything that happens from the lightsaber battle to, Palpatine being an evil maniacal creep to Vader trying to, get in Luke's head, to Luke trying to bring Vader back, and ultimately Vader killing Palpatine to save his son, fulfilling the prophecy that was set up years later in the prequels. But it's just an awesome movie, and I love it. It's the perfect ending to the trilogy. Everyone singing and dancing, Ewoks eating stormtroopers. It's just all fun and, no problem. So the number one is Return of the Jedi. So a quick rundown of my top 10, my ranking of the Star Wars movies. We got number 9, Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Number 8, Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Number 7, Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. Number 6, Star Wars The Force Awakens. Number 5, Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Number 4, Star Wars The Last Jedi. Number 3, Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. Number 2, Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. And number 1, the greatest Star Wars film, and in my opinion, the greatest film ever made, Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. How do you rank the Star Wars movies? Would you include the Clone Wars? I don't know why it's 10 if it is included, but I mean, if you include it, they're to each their own. TV show's good, but the movies wasn't for me. How would you rank them, and what do you think of my list? Comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.